because Shippers Council, let me just be neutral here. Because Shippers Council wants to be able to say, you can't do this one to my people.
Yeah.
You can't do this one to my people. But when you look at why NPA want to do some certain things, and you know that it is on the right proportion that they want to do it. Because I want to use two things, because two tariffs came out at the same time. That is the NPA tariff and custom tariff. But immediately they go against it, because both of them said it has never been increased for longer period. But the customs own has been it's just like a new one that was want to introduce give to the public. But the NPA have already used some certain innovative, they've already used a learning process before they can be able to say, okay, this is why I want to do this thing. Then we now look at it and now said, okay, if this thing is justifiable, so people are against it, which side are we going to do? It looks like a crisis.
It is a crisis. So the question you should ask yourself, you see, there are a number of things I want us to look at here. Number one is, what is your role in this entire space?
The role, which is to protect me.
Yes, that's what the law says you should do. Exactly. And so the next question is, to your stakeholders, the people you are playing to, the people you are serving, how do they perceive you? There are two things here. And so your role in this department is essentially to ensure that there is an alignment between your core function, your core mandate, and the perception. That is what gives you your identity or builds your brand. So that is our interest, and that's why no matter what happens within the NSC, Nigerian Shippers Council, when you are part of those conversations, your voice must be strong enough in making it very clear, because most times you get this misalignment. Things get done, eventually, it's almost like saying that, well, majority will have their way, minority will have their say, that kind of stuff. But the ramifications is where I'm going to in all of this. We can't stop NPA if tomorrow they decide they want to increase or they want to take any other decision that has economic implications. It might not be rate increase. It's true, they are the landlords. You are regulating within their space. That's the truth. You are regulating within their space. You're trying to, because the work that you're doing is bringing sanity into that space where there is always chaos, potentially chaos, all sorts of chaos, whether it's tariffs or what's it called now, damage to goods or services, delays, all of the typical problems that go with the business of logistics and shipping. That economic context is very volatile, just like life is volatile at sea when it comes to maritime safety and security. You are the referee there. And so, making sure that the perception of you to the stakeholders that matter the most is in alignment, that you are an unbiased umpire. How many of us are football fans here? How many of us watch football here? I don't know if you are. Okay, let's say Arsenal is playing Liverpool, two bitter rivals. You switch on your television. You see both teams. Who is the most important person? Who will be the most important person on that field? It's the referee. You'll be saying that this referee, this same referee, if it's someone that has built, that you have a bad reputation for, that you always lose whenever he referees, you'll be saying, this man again. And controversy. So the audience, the fans, keep one reputation. And invariably it sticks. Because that opinion spreads, despite the fact that the man may have tried to be as unbiased as possible. That's where we are going to with this, is to let you know that silence is also dangerous. Silence is also dangerous. Engage where necessary. Some things will happen. I'm going to come to you, sir. Some things will happen that you cannot control. We must accept that. We are communicators. That's why we have to be strategic. That is the value of strategy. That we don't have control over certain things that will happen, but we have control as to how we can respond to it and manage how it is perceived. So it's to ask ourselves and go back to the drawing board and say, what if another situation like this will likely present itself anytime soon? It might not be from NPA. It could come from NIMASA, another sister government agency.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Or it could come from even your ministry.
Yes, or terminal operators.
Or even from the House Committee on Marine. Even from truckers. So you see what we're talking about here. So sitting down, maybe doing your meetings every Monday, whether in Lagos, Abuja, these are the kinds of things you must say, okay, so what if somebody, all it takes is for a legislator to get up and just say, I want to move a motion on an issue of urgent national importance. Nigeria Shippers Council, and they just start talking, and then when you watch Channels News at night, you see yourself there, free of charge. You are wondering, when did this happen? Do you have a strategy for those kinds of scenarios? You must develop a playbook, and I'm encouraging these units to adopt the playbook development strategy that carries a variety of scenarios. What it will do is that it will expand the thinking and the mindset of everyone on this team. Because you are fighting a battle where you have all kinds of actors who in a bid to protect their own interest, hamper you from delivering on your mandate. And by extension, potentially gives you a bad name before your major audiences, in this case, the shipper. So this is part of how I want us to look at it. Please, sir, let me come to you. You wanted to.
Sir, is it not possible for the Shippers Council to tell all the stakeholders before any agency increases their tariff? It's supposed to come to Shippers Council before doing that. In the situation whereby they do not do that and then they increase the tariff, can Shippers Council tell the freight forwarders not to comply until the Shippers Council to tell them so far they are the regulator?
You see, that's a management decision. That's not your headache. Do you get the point I'm making in all of this? That's why I'm saying to you, you are in communications. A lot of the things you are called to manage are things that are beyond your level. In fact, they are things that you did not cause. But they have ramifications in terms of the image and in terms of perception. You don't know, there are some of the decisions might be internally made decisions. There are sometimes that decisions are made internally that are not necessarily, don't play out. They have what you call unforeseen outcomes that affect the image of the organization. Now, you don't have control over those calls. So don't bother yourself with that. What you want to do is that, okay, fallouts. Can we anticipate fallouts? Because I can tell you, even if as management, Shippers Council were to put those measures in place, there are always bad actors in every space. I need us to understand this. If we are going to be effective managers of image and effective communicators, there are always bad actors in every ecosystem. No matter how well structured, how well organized it is, even when there are ramifications, consequences, and penalties, there are always bad actors. They seek to shortchange that system, to stress test that system through various ways that some of us have not even imagined. So when these bad actors strike, the problem is they are usually fallouts. And those fallouts have reputational consequences. They have potential impact on our brand, on our names, on us as an institution. Some of these fallout can end up making us look irresponsible as if we don't know what we are doing.
More like weak.
Or weak. I'm sure sometimes you hear your stakeholders as a reference say that I don't even know what Shippers Council is doing. Question is, communication strategy must be a lot more proactive. A lot more proactive. You must think of all these scenarios. You will never get them 100%, but the more you think about them, the more elastic this unit will become. And so when tension, pressure comes, you know the concept of elasticity, it may stretch you, but you'll be resilient enough to rise to the occasion. So it goes back to the first point that I started out with, that the paradigm, our own paradigm must shift. If we are expecting MPA to do at least be a good sport, be a team player, MPA is in the business of MPA. You get the point I'm making? The same way all other actors, the same way you should be in the business of Shippers Council. Protect the shipper. That is your goal. That is your mandate. So that, ask yourself, do you have, in terms of image perception, if you were to be like a superhero with a cape, would they put Nigeria Shippers Council protector of shippers? Do you have that level of image perception in your sector? Do you have that level of image perception? But that is supposed to be your brand. Protector of the shipper as a port economy regulator. You do that. The functional side is port economy regulation. But the perceptional side should be, I use the word should be, protector of the shipper and by extension protector of the Nigerian economy. That's your brand destination. That's your brand destination. But the question is, what is your current brand situation? Your brand destination is that you are the rescuer. It should be a case of Shippers Council to the rescue. Nigeria Shippers Council to the rescue. That's your brand destination. So there are two things we are looking at here. But your brand situation, we see that there's a gap. And we must constantly be working with this mindset. Are we protecting the shipper? Whatever happens, whatever comes out of this meeting with all of these people, whatever comes out of this, when the smoke clears after this tariff increase or whatever MP has done, will Shippers Council still be seen after all of it as they did everything to protect the shipper? And we saw it. And that's one more feather in Shippers Council heart into becoming that brand. That's why I said silence is dangerous. Because when you're silent, a feather is taken off your cap. When you're silent, in fact, in communications context, silence is often interpreted as complicity. I'm telling you, perception-wise, should we they did this to us? You people did. What is that saying? What is that telling you? That they are part of it. So you must fight for your reputation intentionally. And that's another point I want to make. Intentionality is very crucial in all of this. Regardless, yes, your sister agencies, fine. Working for the same government, that's true. But you have clearly delineated sets of functions. So the goal for you would be, in all of these, okay, MPA, this is what you've done. We have a responsibility to ensure that our audience, in this case the Nigerian shipper, perceives us as working in their own interest and protecting them. So this is the narrative that we intend to put out there on a consistent basis with ample evidence so that they get the sense that we're doing what we need to do. So that is the PR function. Elevate what your management does through the power of narratives. See, there are ways. Let me quickly give you, I'm going to just give some suggestions to you. There are ways the PR needs to function in an unconventional manner, sometimes, to ensure that you're building that trust, even in the midst of a lot of difficulties. And thankfully, head of PR is here. These are suggestions. They are not conventional, but they help in some ways. There are some meetings that you can intentionally embed is one or two stakeholders, even though the meetings or the functions were not for them. It's a PR move. It's not a management move. It's talking to management, this, we know this, but you know what, I think it's a good idea. Because one, you then convert some of those stakeholders as into your megaphone. To build your brand is not something you're going to do all by yourselves, and it's not by our logos, the various things we print and adverts, and no, it's by organic human interactions, responses, and dealing with situations. Sometimes your story or your position can be better told because there were one or two stakeholders or shippers who were brought into a situation they would ordinarily not have been privileged to be in. But through the power of a strong PR unit, you're able to say, look, please, let's bring in someone, let's have at least one of the freight forwarders attend this meeting with NP or whatever it is you're trying to do. What it does is that it brings collective participation. You're not trying to build the brand all by yourself. The beneficiaries of your function are also playing a part in it. So it's got to be some unconventional thinking would have to come in. Please, sir, you wanted to say something?
No, I wanted to ask you to situate a situation. One, when you know, let's look at a little history about Nigerian Shippers Council. It was started in 1978. UNCTAD said, please, nations, go and start Shippers Council so as I can protect the interest of the shippers. And when it was started, they did their job diligently. Now, it was a military decision. In 2014, during the time of Jonathan, Shippers Council was made the Port Economic Regulator by executive order.
Yes.
Now, look at the scenario I want you to look at. There's one they call Stuan, Ship Owners Association. Yes. There was an infraction they did. Shippers Council went and said, no, you can't do this without having recourse to us. We dialogue over it. The next thing they did was to go to court, right? And the thing, I think up to now, it's still in Supreme Court. Just see, you don't have that, right? Because you were not here. 2014 executive order is not
it's not a law.
It's not a law. It was
an executive order.
This thing Jonathan did without passing through the parliament. Now, again, I want you to look at the scenario where we are going into now. God willing, in the next few months, the Nigerian Shippers Council, the president will pass the law making the Nigerian Port Economic Regulatory Agency. Now, this thing has passed through the Act of Parliament, approved by the Parliament, sent to the presidency for assent. If the president assents it, now this is the first time ever Shippers Council will have authority to start
to enforce.
If this law is passed, nobody can challenge it in the Supreme Court or any court of law that you are acting on your own, because it has passed through the Act of Parliament. Now, the scenario I want you to see is that, you see, some of the times, the public relations unit, there are some issues that will come up. They will look back where they are coming from, look back at the law established them at any point in time. And that is what happened when Nigeria Ports Authority increased that time. He said Shippers Council knew that even MPA will go ahead and tell these people will think they are having this, don't have authority. Who get the authority to be Port Economic Regulator without passing through the system? So these are some of the issues the public, when they want to stand and react, does that with that's hindrance. Don't understand? But again, I want to look at
The
now.
scenario.
We are looking at Imperial Bill to be passed in the next 2 weeks. Where do you think the public relations unit will now navigate?
Okay, navigate to. Okay, thank you very much. You raised a very important scenario. I also was aware of that scenario. I'm just being careful. I didn't want to raise it in our conversation because it can be sensitive at times. We know it's really more of an executive tool that Shippers Council has had to rely on. And then this matter, I think the issue is, I think it has come, that particular